Hi friends, today we are going to discuss another design pattern called disaster recovery pattern. Now, before understanding what disaster recovery is, first of all, we have to understand what availability is. Now, availability in your system design states that all the components that you are having in your system are available even when a particular instance or particular component crashes. For example, let's say you have an application which is using a messaging queue and which is using some database. Now, if there are only one instance of each of this application and user is calling your application in this way, right? So what is going to happen is if anything crashes, all of your system is going to go down. Now, to provide availability, or as we say, high availability, what we do is we keep multiple instances of each of this component, each of these components. So even if one of the instances crashes, other instance will be able to serve the traffic. Similarly, queue is also going to be distributed across multiple instances or multiple containers, so that even if one container crashes, other container which is just replica is able to serve the traffic, and similarly for the database also. Now, this this type of this type of system is called available system or highly available system, in which if any component crashes individually, your system will continue to work. Now, what will happen if all of this data center, all of this data center crashes? Or if due to some change, due to some configuration change or network change, what happens? All of this pipeline crashes. Then what is going to happen? For these types of scenarios, we duplicate complete workflow at someplace else. So what we're going to do is in another data center or another region of your cloud provider, you can create the same workflow, and it is going to have everything that is present. How scaled your disaster? So this is called disaster site or disaster recovery site. So it is going to have all the components that are present in your actual flow, and depending on your uh, disaster configuration or disaster recovery site configuration, which we are going to discuss next, we will decide how much components you're going to keep of each how much infra you're going to keep for each component, and in which state are you going to keep that component. So it is replica of your main site. Disaster site is just replica of your main site. As you can see, we are replicating our complete workflow at some other place. It is obviously going to incur some cost. So the configuration of your disaster recovery site depends on your business use case, and it is basically driven by two properties. One is recovery time objective. That basically states that if let's say this is your main site from which users are interacting, and these are your servers, and your users are interacting with this site, and it has a load balancer in front of it, and for some reason this site goes down. So after how much time, or uh, what is the allowed delay between this disaster occurs, that is between this site crashes and the next site starts serving traffic, right? So this is called recovery time objective. How much time is allowed for the disaster site, for the main site to crash and disaster site to start serving traffic? And depending on this, we are going to see what are the different ways in which you can construct or your own disaster recovery site for infra. So this is recovery time objective. Another is recovery point objective. Now, recovery point objective states that how much minimum data loss are you willing to accept when a disaster occurs. So, for example, if all the data is being written, in your main site, right? So data has to be replicated. From your main site to a disaster site, or there is going to be some way. For example, you're saving data in some common place, and from that common place, your disaster recovery site is replicating the data. So even if this site crashes, your disaster recovery site, DR site, is able to recover that data. So since it is an asynchronous process, the data is going to be eventually written into your disaster recovery site. So there's always going to be some time delay between data is written in the main site and till the time data appears in your disaster recovery site. So this time delay basically shares how much data loss are you willing to take when a disaster occurs. So if you say that no, I'm not willing to take any data loss. So what you have to ensure is whenever your data is being written in your main database, you have to synchronously write that into your disaster recovery database also. And once it is confirmed by the disaster recovery database, then only you should return the response to the customer. Now, it is obviously going to have some downsides to it, because there's going to be data transfer cost between regions, since this your main site can be in Asia region and this can be in US region. There is going to be increased latencies to your end customers. So your recovery point objective specifies how much data loss are you willing to take, or till what point are you willing to take. For example, there's always going to be a race between the data. For example, this is the data that is being written in your main database, and this is the data. This is your main site, and this is your DR site, disaster recovery site. So this is the gap. How much gap are you willing to take is called RPO. And the real recovery time objective specifies how much time are you willing to spend, or are you allowing us engineers to spend when your main site crashes and your disaster site comes back up. Now, you will say that I'm not going to spend any time between main site crashes and the disaster site comes back up. So what you have to do is you have to keep exactly identical site as main site and DR site, so that if main site crashes, then your DR site is able to take the traffic. Now, here the trade-off is of cost, right? So these are the two things that we have to consider when we are designing the DR solution for your infrastructure. Now, what are the different ways in which you can design your disaster recovery strategy? First of all, it is the very basic thing is backup and restore. In this strategy, what you're just doing is you have your main site in which all your data is being written or all your workflow is present, and you are basically backing up into a common place, let's say blob storage or S3 or Azure blob storage. All your data is being backed up here, and once this site crashes, you set up another site in some other region, you provision all the instances, you restore all the data from your common storage, and when this site is ready, this will start serving traffic. So in this case, recovery time objective is going to be the amount of time you will take to provision this infrastructure and to restore the data from your main database or your database backup. This site has crashed, right? And your So it is going to be around 24 hours or more, depending on how much data you have. If your data is very less, then your backup restore can also function. And recovery point objective is how much data loss can you take. Since you are recovery point objective depends on how frequently you are taking backup of your database. If you're taking let's say you are taking backup every hour, hourly backup you have, then your recovery point objective is going to be at max 1 hour, because at max you are going to lose 59 minutes of data. So if your last backup was at 1 p.m. and your database crashes at 1:59 p.m., then this is the duration. This was the last backup and this is the crash time. This duration of 59 minutes is your recovery point objective when you're using backup and restore. Now these are exemplary times and exemplary figures, but you get the idea that you're backing up the data and restoring it data and provisioning your instances in real time. Now another technique of disaster recovery is Pilot Lite. In this, what you're doing is you are keeping your disaster recovery site running. The critical components like database and other things are provisioned and they are being replicated in real time. So what you can do is you can have real-time replication from your main site. This is your main site and this is your DR site. And you can have application instances A1, A2, A1, A2. You are basically keeping your database servers running. Your critical components are running, and you can basically keep replicating this data, but you will basically your main application on the main site is going to be running, whereas your application in your site is going to be switched off. And so what is going to happen is when this site crashes, you will basically start your servers and you will basically start accepting traffic as soon as your servers are started and your database replication finishes up. And if the database replication is already finished up, then it is not going to take much time. So what is the recovery time objective? Recovery time objective in this case? In this case, recovery time objective is going to be the time taken to start these servers which were not running or which were stopped in stop state. So it is going to be, let's say, 5 minutes. And in recovery point objective is going to be the duration of orders which were not replicated. For example, let's say if this replication was happening every 1 second, so maybe 1 second of data will be lost. It depends on the speed at which you are replicating the data. Third disaster recovery strategy is bomb standby disaster recovery pattern. In bomb standby, what we do is your main site is going to have full-scaled version of your application workflows, and your disaster recovery site is going to be scaled down infrastructure replicating your main workflow. So if, for example, let's say you have 4 instances which are running for your main site, maybe you can run 1 instance or maybe a smaller instance on your DR site. So this is the bomb standby where everything is running, but is a scaled down version of your main site. So when this site crashes, what you have to do is you will just have to scale these instances, scale the infrastructure according to the load that you're handling, and then your disaster site can start taking traffic. So this is bomb standby. You are almost ready. You just have to scale your infrastructure and start serving traffic. In your Pilot Lite, you were basically not running the instances. Once you got the confirmation that DR site should start serving the traffic, you brought this instances, you started these instances, Whereas in DR side, you are keeping less number of instances in comparison to the main side, but these less instances are running. Whereas we also have another strategy called hot standby. In hot standby, what we do is, as the name suggests, it is very hot. Very hot, I mean, it is exact replica of the infrastructure that is running on a main site. So DR is going to have scaled up full scale version of your main site. So if four instances were running in your main site, then you will be running 4 instances of that component in your DR site also, and it is going to incur the similar cost. Data is going to be replicated as per your requirement. For example, if you want direct replication, you can directly replicate between the DR site and main site, and if you want via backup, you can you cannot use backup in this case, because if you want real-time recovery, so that the switching time from main site to DR site is very less, you need very less recovery point objective. So in warm standby, what are the recovery time objective and recovery point objective? In warm standby, you're having scaled down version. So how much time will you take to start serving traffic from your DR site depends on how much time will you take to scale up your infrastructure. So if one instance was running and you need to take 1 to 4 instances, you need to increase your instance count from 1 to 4, then this is the amount of time, the launch time or time taken to start these extra 3 instances is called, will be your recovery time objective. Time to provision your DR site to be functional. And what is the recovery point objective? Recovery point objective is going to depend on how your data is being replicated across the sites. If it is being replicated in real time, then only the data that was written in your main site but not replicated in the DR site will be your recovery point objective time. For example, if there is a slave lag, so this is basically a slave of your main site, right? This is your main site database and this is your DR site database. So it is basically replicating from main site to DR site. So if the slave lag is 1 second, then recovery point objective is 1 second, because you are going to lose 1 second worth of data if your main site crashes and you have to serve traffic from DR site. If your DR site database is 10 seconds behind the main database, from 10 seconds behind main database, I mean, if your main database has written till here and your DR database has written till here, then this is the amount of time, or this is the amount of data that you're going to lose if your main site crashes. So this duration is called recovery point objective. It is also in time. And what about hot standby? Disaster recovery pattern. In hot standby, we are keeping exact replica of our main infrastructure. So our recovery time objective is going to be almost 0, and recovery point objective is also going to be almost 0, since we are keeping hot standby. And recovery point objective is, in all the cases, is going to be the time difference it takes your DR site to replicate data from a main site. This is the hot standby pattern. And there's another pattern called active-active. Disaster recovery pattern. In active-active disaster recovery pattern, what you do is, your user is not only being served from the main site, your user is also going to be served from your DR site, right? In all the previous cases, we were serving users only from the main site, and when the main site crashed, we were serving the data from DR site or users from DR site. So active multi-region disaster recovery pattern is very similar to hot standby. we are keeping the exact replica of the main site or main site components in our DR site, and these are basically scaled up components as per the main site. Along with the hot standby, we are also sending traffic to the DR site. So user is being simultaneously served from either main site or DR site, and user may not even know that he can be served from any one of these two sites. So this is active DR sites where both the sites are active. In earlier cases, only main site was active, but in this case, active pattern, we are keeping both the sites active, and both recovery time objective and recovery point objective are going to be nearly zero, since if any site crashes, then another site will be able to take the complete load. But you have to keep one thing in mind when you're using active DR site pattern, is that your system should be scaled up for 100% of the traffic. So if you are serving 50% of traffic from main site and 50% of traffic from DR site, then you will see that your resources are being utilized only 50%, right? You will see that your resources will be utilized 50%. So you will think that I should scale my system down since they're only being used 50%. Now there is going to be a challenge when you're going to scale down your system. For example, if let's say your main site crashes and your instances are which were running on 50% utilization, you decide to scale down your traffic and you reduce your system to half. So instead of having 4 on the main site, you're running 2 and 2 on main site, 2 instances on main site and 2 instances on your DR site. Now what is going to happen is, if for example your main site crashes, then all the load is going to come to your DR site, and for 100% of the load you should have had 4 instances, but since you had wrongly scaled down your infrastructure, so your DR site may crash due to extra load. So in active pattern, you have to keep in mind that you are keeping the infrastructure as is. So for example, if your main site was serving traffic, main site required 4 instances to basically run your workflow with 100% of the 100% of traffic required 4 instances, then you should keep 4 instances in your DR site also. They should not be scaled down, so that at any point you want to start sending either 100% traffic to your DR site or 100% traffic to your main site, then they will be able to take the load completely. Now this is a very important point that's why I've elaborated so in depth. You will be thinking that how are you going to ensure that you are sending traffic from 50% to your main site and 50% to your DR site, or even in previous cases you will be thinking that how are we going to send 100% traffic to DR site when a main site crashes. For this you can use multiple design patterns. For example, there is a gateway pattern in which your gateway can be in both the regions, and your users will be sending traffic to your gateway, and gateway will be routing it to the main site, and if the main site crashes, then your gateway will be sending traffic to your DR site. And since the gateway is in both regions, so even if the gateway in your main region crashes, your users will send traffic to the gateway in DR site, and from there the configuration is going to send the traffic to your DR site. And during normal scenarios, if the main site is working fine, and if the traffic is received by the gateway which is hosted in your DR site, then it will route the traffic back to your main site. This is one of the ways in which you can basically handle failovers of your main site to DR site and DR site to main site. Another pattern that you can use is you can use a domain name. and AWS as well as maybe Azure also provide. You can keep pointing it to your main site. Your domain will keep pointing to your main site, and users will use this domain. Using this domain, they will point to main site, and when your main site crashes, you can basically either automatically or manually change this domain name pointing to start pointing to here. So users will resolve this domain name again. They will this domain will now point to DR site, and so the users will start sending traffic to your DR site. This is another way you can send traffic from your main site to DR site. And so for active site, active disaster recovery pattern that we have seen, you have main site and you have DR site, and we want to send 50-50 traffic, or maybe 70-30 traffic, whatever you type of traffic pattern that you want to follow. You can control this both via either via domain, AWS domain as well as Azure domains might also be providing percentage-wise routing or percentage-wise resolution. So whenever you resolve your domain, 70% of the time it is going to point to this, or give the IPs which point to your main servers, main site, and 30% of the time it is going to resolve to your DR site. And if you're using a gateway pattern, so you can configure your gateway to route 70% of the request to your main site and 30% of the request to your DR site. It may sound tricky if you're not used it, but it is very simple to do in any HTTP proxy that you may use. Like Nginx provides split client functionality where you can split the traffic percentage wise across multiple upstreams. If you're not using active DR configuration, where you're not sending traffic to your DR site, you are sending traffic to DR site only when your main site crashes, then in these type of scenarios, you have to keep few things in mind. One of the thing is, since your DR site is not serving traffic, it may be possible that there may be some configuration changes in your main site which have not been implemented in your DR site. This is always possible because most of the time our main focus remains on the production serving infrastructure, and we forget about our DR infrastructure. Due to this, what is going to happen is there is going to be a configuration drift between your main site and DR site, and in cases when your main site crashes, then your traffic is going to come to DR, and since that configuration changes that were made in your main site were not applied to your DR site, it can lead to production outages, or it can lead to production issues. So you should, for this, you should always make changes via automation, or you should always make changes in DR site along with your main site, so that this configuration difference between your main site and DR site does not happen. They should always be in sync with each other. Other thing that you should keep in mind is when you're using either backup and restore, or you're using Pilot Lite, where your infrastructure is not running, and you are basically starting the infrastructure when your main site crashes. When your main site crashes, then you're starting the infrastructure in both of these scenarios, right? In backup and restore, you're provisioning the whole infrastructure from scratch. Whereas in Pilot Lite, some of the components might be running and some of the components might not be running. So in this case, what you have to do is you should provision your DR site from time to time. So let's say every month or every 2 months, 3 months, you should periodically provision your DR site to check whether there is any configuration drift in your system, and whether there is any basically change that should be applied in your DR system but has not been applied, due to which it may not be able to serve the traffic properly. So you should provision your DR site from time to time. Also, what you should do is, even if your main site doesn't go down, you should do disaster drills, recovery drills, in which you are basically deliberately sending the traffic from not you're not basically deliberately not serving the traffic from the main site. You are serving traffic from a DR site in a controlled environment, not in a controlled environment but in a controlled manner. So that what you can do is, mostly you keep your infrastructure in pilot light pattern, where your infrastructure, some of the components are running and other components are not running. And periodically what you can do is, you can basically transform this pilot light into active site for a period of time in a controlled manner, so that you can check whether your DR site will be able to serve the traffic when your main site goes down. These are called disaster drills, where you are basically replicating the disaster to see whether your team is ready to function in cases of those disasters, whether your infrastructure is ready to perform in those disasters. These disaster recovery drills are basically done when during off hours, like at early morning, like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., so that main users are not impacted, but you're able to check whether your team is ready to serve disaster failover from main site to your disaster site, as well as your infrastructure is ready to serve that traffic or not. So these are the type of drills that you should do periodically with your team, so that you can have confidence in your infrastructure that even if the main site goes down, our DR site is well tested, so that during disaster we can serve the traffic from DR site. Also, what you should do is, you can automate this process. You can automate the failover process, in which if the main site goes down, and your automated systems can basically detect that main site has gone down, and they can failover your system from your main site to your DR site, so that your recovery time objective, which is the time taken to start serving traffic from your DR site, reduces. Because if manual intervention is required, then they are going to be time there. It is going to take time to make the decisions, like whether we should work on repairing our main site, or whether we should start migrating our traffic from main site to DR site. So if your failover process is automated, then what happens is, if it detects that our main site is having some traffic, then it can start sending traffic to our DR site. Here you can use some sort of circuit breaker, where your let's say you have a gateway, and your user is sending traffic to your gateway. Your gateway can act as a circuit breaker, where it can detect if our main site is has started giving some errors, and it is periodically checking the traffic that is being served from the DR site, and DR site is not giving the errors. Then it can basically act as a circuit breaker and stop sending requests to our main site, and increase the traffic that is being sent to our DR site. So it is basically opening the circuit breaker from our main site, and closing the circuit breaker to our DR site, right? So you can use this in gateway for automatic disaster recovery, failovers, as well as fallbacks. So for example, after some time, your gateway notices that main site has started performing well for the test request that it has been sending during the time your circuit was open. If the health checks are passing and the requests are giving 200, then it can gradually increase the traffic to our main site according to the configuration in which we were running our main site and the DR site. So I can go on and on about disaster recovery pattern, but it is good to have this pattern, because even if you have a cluster which has HA among the nodes in itself, for example, you have an Elasticsearch cluster which is running perfectly fine, and you have data replication so that even if one node goes down, other nodes will be able to serve the traffic. But what happens when someone accidentally deletes your data? It can be possible. Manual mistakes are possible. What happens if your whole region goes down? What happens if there is some configuration, someone mistakenly changes the configuration, or someone mistakenly deletes your cluster? Someone forgot to enable deletion protection in your infrastructure, and someone accidentally deletes your infrastructure, which is a very critical component. So in these type of scenarios, having a disaster recovery site of your Elasticsearch cluster, of your any component, whichever component is critical, can help you from having production outages, can help you from avoiding business losses. So that's all for the disaster recovery pattern. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know your views and comments. Thank you and have a nice day.